Discover the incredible journey of a girl who transforms trash bags into a stunning dress-a-mille. Mia sat hunched over her sketchbook, pencil flying like a dart, imagining the dress that could make her dreams come alive. In her small, dim bedroom, the walls felt like they were closing in, heavy with the weight of unpaid bills and the sound of her mother's tired footsteps echoing from the factory. The smell of oil and sweat clung to her mother's clothes, and Mia felt both a sense of pride and profound sadness. This wasn't the life Mia envisioned. It wasn't the life her sketches promised, bursting with color and daring designs. The world outside was a canvas, but her hands were bound by the relentless cycle of labor and sacrifice. Then came the announcement, a fashion competition at school. The thrill of possibility sparked within her. Perhaps this was her chance to break free. But with only a few weeks left, her idea had to be bold, unlike anything the judges had seen before. An outlandish thought struck her: what if she created an entire dress from trash bags? Who said fashion had to be expensive, or even beautiful by conventional standards? Mia's heart raced as she envisioned vibrant hues of black and silver trash transforming into something stunning. But the praise of her mother weighed against the ridicule from peers cloaked in designer labels. Would a dress made from garbage invite laughter or admiration? As she sketched, a moral dilemma gnawed at her. Was she wasting her time on a pipe dream? Most of her classmates would never understand. The rich girls, the queen bees, would tear apart her creation, mocking the very essence of what she believed in, creativity born from necessity. Should she bend to their expectations, drawing from the shallow pool of nightclubs and glamorous parties, or stay true to her roots, risking judgment while reimagining waste as beauty? Frustration burned inside her, a fire doused by whispered taunts from the past. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when Mia felt on the brink of something profound, disaster struck. The old sewing machine that had belonged to her grandmother, a relic imbued with memories of laughter and stories, shuddered to a stop. The lifeblood of her creation was suddenly cut off. Panic seized her. What would she do? Without it, the dream would slip through her fingers like grains of sand, leaving only doubt and despair. Could she really ask for help? It felt impossible, as if every call for aid would echo back with the laughter of the rich girls. In her desperation, Mia sought out Mrs. Carter, the eccentric elderly woman from town, who still wore colorful scarves and the ghost of her linen dresses like armor against the mundane. The first day she walked into Mrs. Carter's cluttered living room, her spirit felt ancient and wise, and Mia found herself drawn into the fascinating legacy of fashion that lay hidden in that small, dusty space. With every lesson, Mrs. Carter revealed snippets of a world that intertwined creativity and resilience, igniting flames of ferocity within Mia that had long been smothered. But as the competition loomed closer, a persistent unease prickled at her. The specter of judgment lingered, the whispers of the crowd, already judging without knowing. Was she strong enough to confront them? Did she possess the courage to redefine beauty in a world that looked only at labels? As the deadline neared, the weight of expectation twisted in her chest like a vice, pressing down on her fragile hopes. Mia stood at the precipice of her revelation, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. There she was, the girl ready to defy her surroundings with nothing but trash bags and a dream. But would it be enough to shield her from the jabs of the clans that laughed from their gilded thrones? Would she find her voice and unveil her story to a crowd poised to tear her apart? In the hushed waiting room of her own making, Mia readied herself. Each breath was a step toward liberation or failure, an uncertain leap into the spotlight, heart racing, mind swirling. As she clasped the fabric of hope tightly in her hands, the world outside continued to turn, unaware of the power brewing within her. She was ready to discover if she had the strength to step onto that stage and change not only her life but the narrative of beauty itself. Mia sat in front of Mrs. Carter, her hands trembling slightly as she prepared to begin her first attempt at sewing with the old machine. The weight of expectation felt suffocating, each passing moment a reminder of the looming competition just days away. Mrs. Carter watched with a keen eye, offering guidance and encouragement. "Remember, Mia," she said, her voice warm yet firm, "each stitch is an opportunity to tell your story." As her foot pressed down on the pedal, the machine whirred to life, bringing the fabric to life beneath her fingers. The rhythm created a pulse, a heartbeat resonating with her own. Each movement became an exploration of her identity. She was not merely sewing trash bags together, she was reuniting fragments of her thoughts, hopes, and fears. With each stitch, she felt bolder, more alive, yet, a shadow of doubt loomed just beyond the bright tapestry of her creativity. What if the judges saw her work as merely a gimmick? A child playing at fashion with waste rejected by the world? She had to delve deeper. This wasn't just about aesthetics. It needed to resonate with the raw truth of who she was. A reflection of challenge and triumph, of struggle and beauty. But how to transform plastic into poetry? During her break, Mia found herself wandering the aisles of her mother's factory, the echoes of mechanical labor seeming to mock her ambitions. She stopped to look at the discarded remnants left behind: faded labels, broken threads, unworn apparel. Inspiration surged through her. It was a reminder that fashion should speak to the soul, born from the earth and the reality of everyday lives. Could she incorporate these remnants into her dress? A bold risk, but one that smelled of possibility. She hurried back to Mrs. Carter, enthusiasm surging through her. What if I added these pieces? Would it make it stronger? More reflective of the struggle behind the beauty? Mrs. Carter considered it, her brows furrowing slightly. Integrating the remnants could enhance your narrative. But remember, it's the message behind it all that must shine through. Don't just aim to shock, create something meaningful. With newfound fervor, Mia set to work. She dissected her ideas, strategically including pieces that represented her journey, both her personal struggles and her aspirations. Patterns emerged, reflecting a story that resonated far beyond the realm of trash. Each piece of fabric transformed under her meticulous touch. As sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating her workspace, it felt as if the universe was affirming her path. But even amidst this creative surge, those haunting voices from the school echoed louder: taunts, whispers, mockery. The queen bees of fashion would undoubtedly scrutinize her work, eager to discredit her originality. A seed of fear lodged itself in her heart, sprouting doubt. Could she truly stand up to them, redefine what beauty meant in the harsh light of their judgment? As she pinned the final touches on her dress, an intense wave of uncertainty washed over her. Would her authenticity dismantle the barriers constructed by superficial standards? Focusing inward, Mia took a deep breath, anchoring her resolve. This wasn't just about winning, it was about asserting her identity and bringing her vision to life. Standing back to examine her creation, she felt a mix of pride and trepidation. Would this piece change her destiny or merely lead to ridicule? None of these thoughts mattered as she grasped the fabric of her creation. It was time to step into the light. The following day, she would present her vision to the world beyond her small room. But at this moment, standing alone in her sanctuary, her heart raced with anticipation, articulated by the slight tremor of her hands as she rehearsed her speech in front of the mirror. Would she find solace in the truth she was about to unveil? Or would the echoes of pity drown out her voice before it even spoke? Tomorrow would reveal all, and for better or worse, she was ready to take that next step. As the shadows lengthened, Mia whispered her mantra. To the stillness of her room, this is just the beginning. Mia awoke to the sound of birds chirping outside her window, a stark contrast to the chaos stirring inside her mind. Today was the day she would showcase her creation, a dress born from discarded materials and laden with the weight of her personal journey. She dressed impulsively, choosing a simple outfit that allowed her to blend into the background. Feeling small amidst the towering expectations, she reflected on what this moment symbolized. Stepping into the workshop filled her with mixed emotions, an electric pulse of anticipation wrapped tightly around her chest. Surrounded by other students and the hum of their projects, the atmosphere felt charged with energy and competition. Yet, she remained anchored by her narrative, the layers of fabric stitched together like a tapestry of her life. As she prepared her display, thoughts swirled around in her mind. How would others perceive her work? Would they see the beauty in her struggle, or simply dismiss it as a novelty? She swallowed hard, grappling with the gnawing doubt that threatened to undermine her confidence. But beneath that doubt bubbled a stubborn determination. She had poured her heart into this project, and it was time to reclaim her voice. When the judges finally arrived, she clenched her hands to steady her shaky breaths. They moved through the workshop, assessing each project with a critical eye. Adrenaline surged through Mia as they approached her station. Did they notice the intricate details? The pieces she had salvaged to tell her story? She took a step forward, clearing her throat. Hello, I'm Mia. Today, I want to share with you the journey of this dress. Her voice, though initially soft, strengthened with each word as she recounted her experiences, the pressures of conformity, the critiques she faced, and the decision to embrace the discarded remnants of fabric that echoed her struggles. As she spoke, she watched their expressions transform from skepticism to intrigue. The judges leaned in closer, examining each patchwork detail, their hands brushing against the unique textures. She emphasized how every stitch challenged the idea of beauty as something unblemished and pristine, and by the end of her presentation, she felt liberated, no longer just a student competing for a prize, but a storyteller reclaiming her narrative. I believe, she finished, her heart racing, that beauty lies not just in perfection, but in the transformation of what is deemed worthless. As applause erupted around her, a wave of relief washed over her, mingled with the scent of hope and possibility. But in the midst of the applause, Mia's eyes drifted toward the corner of the room, where the ever-familiar faces of her schoolmates loomed. The queen bees exchanged sneers, their laughter a bitter reminder of her insecurities. Despite the success of her presentation, doubt resurfaced. Would criticism negate the message she was striving so hard to convey? Did she truly have the resilience to stand firm against the tide of judgment? Back in her workspace, fear intertwined with exhilaration as she replayed the moment over and over in her mind. What if the judges misinterpreted her intentions? What if they commended the aesthetic but overlooked the deeper meaning behind her work? The stakes felt impossibly high, yet she resolved to push past that fear. Mia realized that to remain true to herself meant embracing all aspects of her identity. It was time to confront those lurking doubts head-on, recognize them as a part of her journey. As she took a deep breath, a new clarity washed over her. The moment slipped by until her sewing machine beckoned once more, whispering promises of further creativity. With renewed strength, she picked up a piece of fabric, willing herself to explore even deeper into her art. She had dancing thoughts of what she could create next, an unyielding desire to unlock the depths of her craft. With determination set anew, she asked herself what other stories lay dormant within her. As each idea unraveled before her, she felt an undeniable itch to explore further, to express more. Perhaps it was time to embark on an even bolder project, one that would not only reflect her growth but also redefine the narrative of beauty in a world that often dictated its terms. Yet amidst this excitement, one nagging question remained: could she truly bring herself to face her critics again, knowing she now had so much more at stake? The thought hung in the air, heavy and unresolved. The next challenges she faced would demand courage far beyond what she'd shown thus far. Would she rise to that challenge, or would self-doubt drag her back into silence? Mia sat at her sewing machine, the steady hum serving as a soothing backdrop as she stared at the remnants of her last project scattered around her workspace. Each piece of discarded fabric was a testament to her journey, a palette of memories waiting to be woven into a new creation. The thrill of possibility excited her, but it was also intertwined with an undercurrent of anxiety. What did she want to say next? Her fingers twitched with anticipation. In the past few days, she had confronted the invisible walls that had confined her artistry. Every moment she spent sewing had been an act of defiance against the inner critic that often silenced her. This time, Mia was determined to channel that energy into something that would resonate even more deeply within herself and potentially with others. Right now, ideas coursed through her mind like a rushing river, bold colors, intricate patterns, textures that spoke of resilience. Mia knew her next piece needed to push boundaries even further, yet a fear gripped her heart. Would this new creation be viewed through a critical lens, disregarding her message? With a firmer resolve, she began sketching designs in her notebook. Shapes distorted into abstract silhouettes, framed by the layers of discarded materials she had rescued from trash bins over the last weeks. Each sketch was a silent scream for acceptance, an invitation for others to notice the beauty in the unconventional. Mia paused, considering the symbolism of using trash. Was she merely recycling waste, or was there more to it? It reflected her own journey in a poignant way. The paths of self-doubt and judgment had often led her to feel worthless, but now she chose to transform her pain into art. This realization sparked a fire within her. She could wield her creativity not only to heal but also to ignite conversations about the beauty and imperfections. Determined, Mia dove back into her fabrics, selecting colorful pieces that had once held potential in a different life. They had stories, and she was prepared to tell them. As she stitched patterns and assembled shapes, each dip of the needle punctuated her commitment to authenticity. She was no longer trapped by the weight of others' expectations. With each stitch, she freed herself a little more, but as she worked, her old insecurities began to resurface, creeping against the edges of her thoughts. What if this new project faltered under public scrutiny? Would those familiar voices mocking her creativity return? The realization struck her like cold water. The fear was still there, but for the first time, she felt a sense of agency. She clutched her fabric, absorbing the textures, imagining the conversations she aimed to provoke. An image of herself wearing the final piece flashed in her mind. It embodied her journey, the layers representing both struggle and triumph. This time, she wouldn't shrink away from the eyes of her classmates or judges. She would invite their scrutiny, ready to articulate why her work mattered. With each completed section, Mia felt renewed, her pulse quickening not out of fear but from empowerment. She envisioned her design showcased in a brighter light, a platform for all that she had learned. Her craft was no longer about fitting into an established mold, it was about crafting a new narrative, one that embraced the unconventional. But as she added the final touches, a thought pierced through her creative zeal. While she felt strong, this new creation would demand a much more significant unveiling, a confrontation with critics who had belittled her in the past. Could she muster the courage to present a part of herself that held such deep vulnerability? With one last look at her fabric, a resolve solidified. The moment had come to not only showcase her work but to declare her identity. The stakes were rising, and with it came an exhilarating awareness that the path to self-acceptance was neither linear nor uncomplicated. This piece, an act of rebellion, had the potential to resonate beyond herself. As she looked at the clock, Mia realized she was running out of time. The opportunity to present was approaching swiftly, each tick intensifying her heartbeat. Pushing aside her nerves, she made a silent pledge to herself. She would walk into that moment unapologetically herself, both vulnerable and powerful. The looming confrontation awaited just around the corner. Would Mia rise to the occasion, or would old fears pull her back into the shadows? The answers lay ahead, tantalizing and unresolved. Mia gathered her finished piece, a vibrant dress interwoven with layers of discarded fabric, and stepped back to gaze at it in awe. It was a tapestry of her struggles, an embodiment of her resilience and the celebration of her imperfections. As she cradled the fabric, a wave of conflicting emotions surged through her. Pride battled against apprehension, exhilaration wove together with the fear of judgment. In this moment, she was a living paradox, ready yet terrified to share her truth with the world. The presentation loomed ahead, and with it came the incessant churning of her thoughts. Each twist and turn felt like a flashback to the moments when she had been ridiculed for her art. The voice of her high school art teacher echoed in her mind, filled with dismissiveness, mediocre at best. Those words had lingered, seeping into her confidence, but now they felt distant, not entirely unattached or powerless, but faded like old photographs. She inhaled deeply, attempting to purge herself of the remnants of past criticisms. It's just fabric, she whispered to herself, stroking the dress as if it were a soothing balm. But it was more than fabric, it was everything she had silently suffered and fought through. Stepping toward the mirror, she sought to visualize the moment she would don the dress, overcoming herself in the process. Could she really exist in that space between vulnerability and strength? Mia meticulously practiced her speech, voice trembling as she repeatedly declared the importance of transformation. This dress isn't just recycled material, it represents change, resilience, the very essence of who I am. Something shifted as she practiced, her voice gaining strength. A flicker of determination ignited her heart. However, the closer the day got, the more she felt the familiar tendrils of insecurity trying to loop around her thoughts. On the day of the presentation, Mia stood in front of the mirror, taking in the sight of her creation draping gracefully around her form. She made small adjustments, like a musician tuning an instrument before a concert. Yet, with each tug and pull, doubt crept in. Was she truly strong enough to stand in front of her peers and reveal part of herself that had been hidden for so long? The thrill of courage mingled with the gnawing fear of failure, turning her thoughts chaotic. Arriving at the venue, a pulsating crowd greeted her. The air was thick with excitement, laughter, and curiosity. Yet all she felt was a deepening knot in her stomach. Her heart raced with every familiar face passing by. Would their expressions turned towards her be filled with acceptance or judgment? Mia could almost hear the specter of their words cloaked in judgmental tones. Yet, amidst the suffocating tension, she replayed her mantra, "This is my story." When it was her turn, the spotlight found her, and the audience grew silent. Her voice trembled as she initiated her speech, each word carefully crafted to bridge the gap between herself and her audience. The vulnerability of exposing her newfound identity caused beads of sweat to form on her brow, yet she pressed on, insisting upon the significance of turning weakness into beauty. As she concluded, a wave of relief washed over her. She had articulated her truth, it no longer felt shrouded by shame. The audience erupted into applause. Shock washed over Mia. Were they clapping for her? But just as she began to feel lightness swell in her chest, a voice interrupted, piercing and mocking. "Is that really art, or just a bunch of trash stitched together?" Laughter erupted from the crowd, and for a moment, time froze. Her breath hitched, and the vibrant applause dulled to mere echoes. The room felt like swirling chaos, the laughter a heavy weight dragging her down. Confrontation was unavoidable. It wasn't just the criticism, it was the realization that the battle within her was far from over. Would she dive deep into that darkness, or fight back with conviction? Mia's mind raced, the sting of their taunts igniting a new fire of determination. The moment of truth had arrived. Harsh yet enlightening. Standing there, she understood that her journey towards self-acceptance had only just begun. Would she allow herself to be pulled by those mocking tones, or could she rise above them, reflecting her growth rather than the shadows of her past? The decision loomed large, and with it, a new chapter awaited. Mia stood frozen on stage, the biting laughter of the crowd ringing in her ears like a relentless drumbeat. For a fleeting moment, the applause that had previously uplifted her crumbled away, replaced by a thick wall of derision. Her initial instinct was to shrink back into herself, to inhale and disappear completely. But as the words echoed, an unexpected surge of defiance welled up within her. She'd been rehearsing those moments in her mind for weeks, but never had she pictured this particular scene, a confrontation fueled by mockery. Instead of retreating, though, a flicker of resolve sparked in the depths of her chest. What if she flipped their expectations? What if she turned the derision back on them, not with anger, but with unwavering confidence? Mia took a steadying breath. Her mind raced through the past, each mockery and insult fueling her resolve. The laughter was a call to arms rather than a dagger, it propelled her to speak with clarity. Art, like this dress, comes from creativity, resilience, and the courage to repurpose what others disregard, she said, steadying her voice, her eyes scanning the audience. Their faces appeared less intimidating now, almost curious. "I've worn this dress not just to show my artistic vision but to prove that beauty can arise from what most see as garbage. Isn't that what we all are in some way? Overlooked, undervalued, and ready to be transformed. The words flowed out, confident and purposeful, each phrase slicing through the remnants of laughter. She could feel the palpable tension in the air shift as many in the audience began to reconsider their initial dismissal. With every word, her stuttered confidence transformed into conviction. She conveyed the raw emotions woven into each thread of the fabric, the struggles of feeling inferior and the exhilaration of transformation from trash to a tactile statement of art. The weight that had once pressed heavily on her shoulders was now a mantle she wore proudly. Mia paused, letting her gaze fall on the one who had mocked her. Can art also be a mirror to our society? To reflect how we see each other? I invite you to look closer. The challenge hung in the air, stark and unyielding. Mia anticipated judgment, and though fear still coiled within her, she refused to surrender to it. Instead, she embraced it, allowing it to strengthen her resolve. The silence enveloped her, thick and contemplative. It was a space laden with vulnerability, but one she did not fear. What had seemed like a moment of humiliation had evolved into a stage for command, a platform for her wisdom. The laughter ceased as a contemplative shift took root in the audience's demeanor. She could see intrigue sparking within the eyes that had initially dismissed her. As she stepped back slightly, she contemplated her next move. The laughter had been a barrier, and she had not only skirted around it but had also invited the audience to join her on a journey of transformation. She had found herself in that moment an artist and an advocate for change. Yet, beneath the exhilaration of her newfound confidence, doubt lingered. Had she truly made a connection, or would she always be remembered for that singular moment of mockery? She felt like a dancer breaking free from a routine she had long rehearsed, risking every movement to create something genuinely beautiful. With newfound determination swirling within her, she exited the stage, but not without a lingering question: what would await her next? Was this a pivotal moment that would propel her forward, or just another hurdle to overcome? The weight of such uncertainty pressed down, but there was a thread of excitement through it all, the promise of something new blossoming just beyond the horizon. As Mia moved away from the stage, a whisper crossed her thoughts: the true test of her growth had yet to unfold. She could feel the pulse of anticipation. Her journey had only just begun. Would she harness her resilience to reshape herself and redefine her art, or would she falter against the tides of opinion and expectation? The answers lay just ahead, ripe with possibility. Mia stepped off the stage, her heartbeat loud in her ears, less from anxiety now and more from exhilaration. The abrupt transition from a moment of public scorn to one of self-empowerment swirled through her mind like a bright kaleidoscope. Yet, despite the adrenaline, a sense of fragility shadowed her triumph. The manic laughter, now a hushed memory, left an indelible mark. Would they accept her? Would they understand her? As she moved backstage, Mia's surroundings felt foreign, each step echoing the uncertainty that intermingled with her hope. The stage lights dimmed, and in the cooler shadows, unfamiliar faces flickered: other artists, critics, those with judgment in their eyes and whispers behind their hands. Everywhere she turned, she sensed a scrutiny that made her pulse quicken anew. Reeling from the moment, she spotted an older woman with a stern expression watching her from a distance. The woman had an air of authority. Mia instinctively knew she had to engage. Steeling herself, she approached. "Hi, I'm Mia." Didn't you just make a fool of yourself?" the woman interrupted, her tone sharp and unforgiving. A cold wave of embarrassment washed over Mia, but she stiffened, determined not to back down. "Actually, I think I created a conversation," Mia responded, her voice firmer than she felt. Art isn't always understood at first glance. It challenges perception. The woman raised an eyebrow, a smirk threatening the corner of her lips. "Perhaps, but at what cost? The laughter you received will follow you. How will you handle that moving forward?" Mia's heart sank as a knot of anxiety formed in her stomach. "By pushing through it. By evolving," she said, but the uncertainty of whether she was merely convincing herself weighed on her. "Evolve how? Tell me, what's your next step?" The challenge echoed within the confines of Mia's mind. She had just fought hard to reclaim her voice, yet even now another hurdle loomed large, feeding the flame of her doubt. "I'm going to create new works," she replied, a new resolve igniting within her. Art that speaks louder than expectations, that transforms not just materials but also perceptions. It's more than just fashion, it's about identity. The woman regarded her, a hint of intrigue breaking through her earlier composure. "Identity, you say?" Bold words for someone whose last act made them a target of derision. Mia searched for strength within herself. "Yes, but every transformation comes from resisting what others see as weakness. I want my art to reflect that journey." There was a moment of silence, during which Mia fought against the tide of uncertainty. Could she truly begin creating again? Could she empower herself through her art despite others' judgments? "Consider that a lofty ambition," the woman said, her tone softening slightly. "But remember, any evolution demands sacrifice. Are you willing to risk yourself again?" Mia nodded, a sense of clarity settling over her. This was the crossroads she needed. It was no longer just about the applause or judgment. This was about her. Her identity. Her art. "I am ready for whatever it takes," she affirmed, feeling a flicker of strength was it courage. "Well, let us see if you can stick to it," the woman said, turning away. Disappointment threatened to crash over Mia, but she felt a glimmer of excitement rise as well. She had answered the challenge, however imperfectly. With a newfound sense of purpose, Mia moved through the backstage chaos, brimming with ideas, her mind racing with how to redefine her art. There was an opportunity in the wake of her confrontation, a moment to create that might resonate deeper than mere applause. Yet she'd soon discover that redefining herself would demand more than just creativity, it would challenge her on every level. With determination, she began to formulate a plan, envisioning a collection that would represent transformation, not just the finished pieces, but her journey towards them. As she left the backstage area, one question now overshadowed her exhilaration: would the world embrace her newfound vision, or was she setting herself up for another fall? The tension between hope and fear crackled in the air like static electricity, waiting to ignite. The next challenge loomed just ahead, a test of her resolve. Would this mark the beginning of a real transformation, or would she falter again in the face of judgment? Mia stood at the threshold of her studio, feeling a surge of energy thrumming beneath her skin. It was time to transform her vision into reality, no more waiting for validation. She pulled out her design sketches from the cluttered desk, a vivid array of ideas swirling across the pages, some wild, others deceptively simple. But, at their core, they all shared a singular message: identity is a work in progress. Just like her art, with a swift motion, she cleared the space. The past few weeks had been marked by a haze of self-doubt and fervent personal contemplation. Now, clarity rushed in like the tide. To evolve, Mia needed to confront her insecurities with daring creativity. The reactions to her last performance rang in her ears. They could be a blessing if she chose to shape them into fuel for her evolution. As she rummaged through boxes of discarded materials, old textiles, remnants, and yes, trash bags, her heart raced with excitement. The idea of crafting a collection from what others considered worthless sparked her innovation. Each piece would echo her journey from ridicule to resilience, speaking not just of external aesthetics but of internal fortitude. Yet as she began sketching the outlines of her creations, another wave of doubt washed over her. Could she truly dive deeper into her vulnerability through her art? The older woman's words haunted her. Sacrifice. What would she have to reveal, and what might she lose in the process? The thought was unsettling, a thin layer of fear creeping back in, but Mia resisted it. This was her moment to reshape the narrative, and her commitment to authenticity outweighed the discomfort. Determined, she had to think strategically. She needed to push past solitude and isolation. Collaboration could unlock paths she hadn't considered. With a decisive flick of her pen, she decided to reach out to fellow creators. There was a vibrant underground community nearby, brimming with artists who shared her vision of sustainability and transformation. Perhaps they could not only inspire her but also help her break free from her lingering anxieties. Mia pulled out her phone and began to message some of them. As each text sent into the digital void, she felt a giddy rush of empowerment mixed with the twinge of vulnerability. Reaching out meant inviting new perspectives and potentially facing rejection, but she pushed aside the what-ifs. This was part of evolution. As days turned into weeks, Mia transformed her studio into a vibrant workshop filled with laughter and ideas bouncing off its walls. She collaborated with a designer specializing in upcycling techniques, whose creativity ignited fresh thoughts about her own work. Together, they infused their styles, and a collective vision began to form. Each session shed layers of her initial fear, redirecting it into a powerful camaraderie, but amid the creative synergy, Mia discovered something more profound: the art was just as personal as it was communal. A burning need to share her story openly emerged, reflecting the darker days that had shaped her into who she now was. The thought of unveiling her vulnerabilities through her art felt like walking a tightrope, exhilarating yet terrifying. With each stitch and every new creation, Mia wrestled with the fear of vulnerability, her art symbolizing more than fashion. It was a narrative of survival and strength. And yet, as the moment for her collection's premiere drew near, the echo of tentative self-doubt resurfaced. Would anyone truly grasp the depth of her journey? She stood in front of the mirror in her studio, the latest piece draping elegantly around her. It was a manifestation of everything she had fought against both internally and externally. Yet, just beneath the surface of her enthusiasm bubbled the nagging thought: could her raw honesty resonate with the wider world, or would it further expose her insecurities? As she laced up the final touches for the collection debut, a sudden realization hit: she was not just creating a line of clothing, she was risking her identity with it. The premiere was less than a week away, and Mia found herself at a precipice. As she looked at her reflection, one last question loomed large: would she soar with her vulnerabilities, or would the weight of judgment ground her once again? Anticipation coiled tight in her chest, reminding her that the moment of truth was nearly upon her. Would this be her ultimate metamorphosis, or would she hesitate on the edge of self-doubt? Mia woke up early the morning before the premiere, the anxiety radiating through her body with every heartbeat. Each moment spent contemplating the upcoming event felt like a tightrope walk over uncertainty. As the sun streamed through her studio windows, she reminded herself of what had brought her here: the need to convey honesty, her passion for transformation, and the connections she had forged through her art. Gazes turned into judgments, she thought. Each time she replayed the potential reactions in her mind, it dug deeper into her consciousness. Was her willingness to share her vulnerabilities truly worth the risk? The thought haunted her, contrasting sharply against the moments of joy and creation she had embraced while working with her fellow artists. She had traded isolation for collaboration, something she had never anticipated would be so vital to her process. Diving into a warm cup of coffee, she skimmed through the final pieces from her collection scattered across the studio. Each design bore witness to her journey from insecurity to empowerment. Despite the fear clawing at her, she had poured herself into each stitch. Turning fear into fabric, that was her manifesto. She watched as shadows danced against the walls, each one mirroring her flickering confidence battling with self-doubt. Mia recalled the faces of her collaborators, the energy of brainstorming sessions, and the laughter that had filled the space. They each added threads of their experiences, twisting them into something impactful. But now, in the silence of her studio, she felt the weight of ownership settle on her shoulders. Who would even notice the nuances she cherished? As the day wore on, she resolved to seek balance. In moments of creativity, anxiety sometimes evaporated. So, she turned on the music, the kind that thrummed through her veins and ignited her imagination. With each beat, she danced in a way that felt freeing, her body moving like her thoughts, unpredictable yet thrilling. Then, from the depths of the studio, an inspiration sparked. It was time to create something new, a final piece that would encapsulate her evolution, a synthesis of her journey. She dug into the box of materials, combing through the remnants that once seemed inconsequential. The trash bags she intended to use for her last creation represented her doubts. She needed them to personify the weight she carried, but transformed by artistry into something spectacular. As she worked, her hands flew instinctively over the fabric, stitching together fragments of her story with fierce determination. With each snip of the scissors and tug of the fabric, she wrestled with the fear that had followed her. What if she failed? But alongside that fear grew clarity. This final creation wasn't simply about her artistry but about showing the world that resilience grows from the discarded and unwanted. Hours flew by, and by the time twilight draped over her studio, Mia had crafted a masterpiece that symbolized rebirth, a dress fashioned from material once deemed unusable, now a testament to her journey. Standing before the mirror again, her heart raced as she slipped the dress over her body. It hugged her form in all the right places, echoing every tension and release she had encountered. This was more than a dress, it was a celebration of every doubt transformed into self-acceptance. Yet a new question began gnawing at her: how would it feel to reveal not just her art but herself? The night before the premiere felt like a profound pause in time. With breath held tight in her chest, she whispered an oath to herself, to remain unapologetically authentic, to embrace vulnerability, and to trust her art's ability to resonate. As she laid her head down to sleep, Mia realized that she stood not just on the brink of a presentation but at the forefront of self-discovery. What would the audience see first, the artistry or the soul behind it? With the dawning of the day ahead, Mia prepared to confront her fears. Little did she know, a surprising encounter awaited her that would further challenge her notions of success. The moment of truth was indeed upon her. How would she navigate it? Mia stood backstage, her heart pounding like a drum in her ears as the buzz of anticipation roared from the audience. Today marked the culmination of her odyssey, the unveiling of a collection born from trash and nurtured through her relentless spirit. No longer did she feel defined by the laughter that once echoed in her memory. Instead, she was ready to immerse herself in authenticity, armed with the belief that this was more than just fabric, it was a narrative of resilience. As the stage lights warmed her skin, colors danced in her peripheral vision while the audience quieted in expectation. Mia's creation, the stunning dress she had fashioned totally from discarded materials, was not just an artistic statement, it carried her story, the transformation from the overlooked trash to a centerpiece of beauty. With each step she took forward, she felt an electric surge of confidence propel her, dissolving doubts that had lingered like shadows at the edges of her mind. The moment she spoke was transformative. Beauty can rise from what others deem worthless. This is my statement. Her voice echoed confidently, strong yet vulnerable, like a battle cry, reclaiming the narrative that had once held her captive. As she revealed each piece from her collection, she shared the experiences that shaped them, the sleepless nights spent stitching together resilience with hope, the weight of judgment that taught her to fight, and ultimately to thrive. The room buzzed with newfound respect, not just for her art but for her unwavering commitment to authenticity. Mia saw the change in their eyes as they absorbed her message, stepping away from the judgment. Each applause reverberated like a personal affirmation. She was meeting herself in those moments, acknowledging her journey. With every piece unveiled, Mia found herself conquering the fears that had previously immobilized her. The queen bees, who once sneered, now leaned in, whispering amongst each other, not in mockery but curiosity. Their reaction illuminated the power of personal evolution. Mia transformed the trajectory of their judgments into an opportunity for connection. She proved that challenges could become conduits for resilience. When the presentation culminated, the applause was thunderous, and for the first time, the echoes were not tinged with mockery but heartfelt appreciation. A judge approached her, a renowned designer whose insights had once struck a chord of intimidation in her heart. "Mia," he said, eyes twinkling with genuine admiration, "this collection is revolutionary. You've crafted an entire language of beauty from waste, proving that art extends beyond traditional confines. This isn't just fashion, it's a movement." His words solidified the journey she had embarked on, confirming her status not merely as a creator but as a force of change. The sensation of recognition washed over Mia like a warm embrace, solidifying her newfound identity. Confidence surged through her veins as she realized she had not only conquered the competition but had also carved out her rightful space in the artistic community. In the aftermath, people flocked to her, eager to express gratitude for her authenticity. The conversations weren't just about the garments, they dove deeper into the themes she had woven into them, reflecting their own experiences of resilience. Mia felt a ripple of responsibility and empowerment flow within her. She knew she had inspired others to embrace their narratives and define beauty on their own terms. As she stood amidst the crowd, warm smiles replaced judgmental stares. Mia knew she had undergone a profound transformation. She wasn't merely a girl in a small, dim bedroom anymore. She was an accomplished artist who had conquered her fears and redefined beauty through creativity woven into the fabric of her life. With her heart brimming with self-acceptance, she vowed to continue pushing creative boundaries, to share stories beyond the realm of fashion. Mia looked out at the eager faces, a blend of curiosity and admiration sparking the flame within her. This moment signified not just a personal achievement, but the start of an impactful journey where art and identity intertwined. It was liberating. The applause echoed her internal affirmation, and she no longer felt as if she was in the shadows. Today marked the beginning of her vibrant legacy. The conviction surged as she knew that she would traverse this path, boldly embracing her truths, reminding the world that artistry lies in every soul, yearning to be seen. As she glanced at the vibrant creations that bore her story, Mia understood this was her canvas, raw, alive, and unapologetically beautiful. Now, for all those who've followed this incredible journey of personal transformation, it's your moment to make a move. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that will inspire you to find your own voice and rise against challenges. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others discover these impactful narratives. Comment below with your reactions and theories about Mia's powerful journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, and remember, you need to show support for these stories that push boundaries. Don't wait even one more second to make your voice heard.